for mayor of Plainfield. We have 4 candidates. To my immediate left, we have D. Scott Belin, who's the independent. To his left is Adrian O. Mapp, Democrat. To his left, Mustapha Muhammad, independent. And to his left, Ms. Sandy Spector, who is a Republican. We drew to see who would begin the opening statement portion of this evening. Each candidate has 2 minutes to make an opening statement, and Mr. Muhammad drew first. No, do it from your seat and please talk into the mic, and please talk to the audience. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mustapha Muhammad. I am a lifetime resident of Plainfield, New Jersey. I'm 57 years old. My wife and childhood sweetheart of 41 years is in the audience. I have children and grandchildren. I went to the schools in the city of Plainfield. I'm shaped, formed, and fashioned by this community. And I represent not only an independent candidacy, but Plainfield's new beginning. Having been a Democrat for the majority of my life, well, all of my life, but we decided that in Plainfield's local politics that we need to be able to step off the line in order to be able to have a fair shot at what was taking place in the history of the local politics of the city of Plainfield. As you well know, our city it's a very wonderful city, but it's a city that has been suffering many things that has been suffering throughout cities in America. We've been gentrified, disenfranchised, and though there is a lot of negative complaints about our city, this city has been managed quite well. Contrary to popular belief, the city is not in the black. It's not in the red, it's in the black. Business and bonding is not as bad as the image that people have been perpetuating to you, they've been putting out to you. Nevertheless, we feel and we know that Plainfield needs a whole new chemistry. That chemistry is the grassroots chemistry that deals with public policy issues, strengthening family public policy issues, analysis of programmatic plan of action, strengthening our families, improving public policy, political empowerment, justice issues, quality of life, economic transformation, and international affairs. And we would hope and pray that we would be able to work in unity with one another, that we would put the divisiveness aside, and that we would be able to work together as one community for Plainfield's new beginning. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Mr. Mapp.
Well, hello and good evening to each and every one. My name is Adrian Mapp, and I have been a long-term member of the Plainfield City Council. I have been serving on the City Council since 1998, except for a stint as a Union County freeholder. I am the one sitting up here who has the most experience, who has the background, who has the passion, and who knows how government is run. I have been at this for a long time, and I can tell you that of all of the candidates that you have before you, I am that candidate who has a vision for the city of Plainfield. It's one of community harmony, economic vitality, cultural vibrancy, and the social and economic well-being of every person living in this community. Every person has a right to live in a community that is safe and secure. And I want, as mayor of the city of Plainfield, to work for every person who lives here, to work to provide a kind of safety environment by enhancing the quality of our public safety, providing the right kind of leadership, putting people in positions who know what needs to be done. I want to be able to transform the city of Plainfield. We need to find ways to bring businesses into this community. We need to find ways to relieve the burden of property taxes that we all share. We need to look at the Plainfield Municipal Utilities Authority and find ways to relieve the pressures of those rates. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's about you. It's about one Plainfield. And I have been very consistent that it's one Plainfield, one future, and I will be working for all of you with the assistance of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spector.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Spector. I am running on the Republican line for the mayor of Plainfield. I know that's a scary thing for you to hear, and sometimes it's a scary thing for me to say, because I sort of know the looks that I'm going to get. But I have to tell you something. I truly believe in a bipartisan form of government in this city. I truly believe that we all can work together. I believe in an open government where everyone is welcomed and respected, not just tolerated, but wanted. When they go up before the city council, I want the city council to want to hear their opinion. When they knock on the mayor's door, I want the mayor to be open and responsive. And I know that that can happen. I think that we need transparency in the city. No more closed door policies. No more deals being made behind our backs. No more being told from outside our city borders what it is we're going to do by a partisan machine from the county. We need, we can, we must take charge of our own future, and we can do it. Plainfield has a very, very, very proud heritage. We need to return to that heritage. We also need government that's accountable to the residents of this city. Again, open doors, open the windows, open the curtains. Let the citizens of Plainfield know what is going on in City Hall and what is going on in their city. It can be done. I can do it.
Mr. Belin.
Thank you. Good evening. Hi, I'm D. Scott Belin. The D is for Douglas, for those of you who know me as a student throughout the city of Plainfield. Many of you know me because I'm one of you. I'm a lifelong resident of Plainfield. I'm a product of the Plainfield public school systems. I went on to Rutgers University, acquired my degree there, and then came back to Plainfield to give back to the same community that gave me so much. Now, I could sit here and spend time telling you how great of an IQ I have, how bright of a student I am, that I have over 30 years of business experience that I'm bringing to the table. I could also tell you that as a student here in Plainfield, I worked my way through as a lifeguard, possibly saving some of your lives at some of the city pools, representing myself as an athlete, representing Plainfield, proudly wearing the cardinal red and blue. I could tell you so many things about Plainfield's past, but let's talk about the future. Each and every one of you, when you get up in the morning, you think about your quality of life, and you know, based upon the years of experience of the present government and the way that we have been doing things, where we are in the city of Plainfield. It's time for a change. And I represent a true choice of change. I'm an independent candidate who's experienced in international business, who has government experience, because I've been a city official since 2007. Many of you don't know that, because I don't have to go around beating my chest to get the job done. I'm the chairman of the zoning board. I've been representing the city of Plainfield, making sure that developers who come into Plainfield adhere to policies that are for the good of the future of Plainfield. And tonight, I look forward to answering your questions, helping you understand my vision for the city of Plainfield, and distancing myself from my other candidates to show you that I am the true choice, I am the vote that you need to make November 5th, so that it counts for that ballot, which is the mayor's race, so that your vote makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're moving into the second part of the program, and that is your questions. If you need an index card, please raise your hand and somebody will come around and give you a card on which you may write your question. Please be sure that it is an issue question and not dealing with personalities. If you have a question written already and you wish to turn it in, please hold it up, and again, an usher will come to your seat and get that. We will be accepting questions until about 25 after 8 this evening, so there is a time limit in terms of writing your questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute of response, and after all four candidates have completed answering the question, rebuttals may be taken 30 seconds apiece. And the first question for this evening is the following. What is your plan for bringing viable businesses to the community that might possibly alleviate high taxes? And Mr. Mapp, you get to answer this first.
We do know that the city does have a need for economic development. And the reason is because we need to expand our tax base. We also need to provide relief to our homeowners who are paying an enormous amount of property taxes. And so it is my desire, my goal, my plan, to make sure that we market the city of Plainfield like it has never been done before. And I intend to hire a deputy business administrator who will focus on bringing businesses into the community. Time is up.
Ms. Spector.
We are in desperate need of economic development. Mr. Mapp is correct. We need to help take the burden of taxes off the backs of the individual homeowners. I don't know that advertising the city of Plainfield nationwide is the answer. I do believe that we do need a director of economic development. I've said that for a very long time. But before we actually put the ad in the paper, you know how when you're going to have company, you dust and vacuum? We need to get our house in order first.
Mr. Belin.
My plan for economic development in the city of Plainfield is as follows. One, we have to change the perception of the city of Plainfield. That is going to create an environment that is going to encourage businesses to want to do business in Plainfield and come to Plainfield to do business. First step in doing that is electing me as an independent candidate, showing that Plainfield is ready to do something different than going along and voting along the party line. Two, we need to improve our perception of being a city that is unsafe by increasing our traffic and our foot patrols by our police department, which is going to create an environment of safeness for not only those who are here to shop, but those who are here doing business.
Thank you. Mr. Muhammad.
Our plan is this. I believe that improving business and bringing economic development to the city of Plainfield is pretty academic. You know, if you're really true at heart and you really want that for the city of Plainfield, then it's going to be pretty academic of what you do. The sincerity about what you're going to do is where the rubber meets the road. I think what's very important and very fundamental like that, since the answer needs to be so quick, we need to put our house in order and we need to build our relationships with those who are already here. We have very powerful, very brilliant, very smart people that are here, but our relationships are very strained. We do not work together. We need unity in our community.
Thank you. Rebuttals? Okay. Question number 2. What do you plan to do about enforcing code violations, such as trash cans being left out, leaves being placed at curbside outside of designated times? And Ms. Spector, you get to answer that first.
I think that code violations need to be treated equally around the city, and I believe that they are not. I think that we need a better system of code violation enforcement. I think we need a better system of inspection. With that done, I think that we can absolutely, this is definitely a quality of life issue. I think that we can improve the city by improving code violation inspections and enforcement, but doing it unilaterally.
Mr. Belin.
First and foremost, I would ensure that the city is first taking care of the things within the city that needs to be corrected. We need to make sure that before I go after a homeowner about code violations, that the city is making itself an example that the citizens would want to follow. 2, we need to enforce those ordinances that are safety related before we're worrying about trash cans and leaf pickup. I would be more concerned with whether or not someone's home is safe as opposed to whether or not they left their trash can out past 7 o'clock.
Mr. Muhammad.
Yes, code enforcement, pretty much, again, it's pretty academic, especially on a platform like this with answers. Again, that could be so quick. It's pretty academic, but at the base of all of that is the culture that we stimulate and that we breed and we develop and we cultivate within our community that will help the follow through on code enforcement. We have a behavior in our community because there's a lack of pride in our community. A lack of pride because there's not communication. Everybody's not on the same page. So if we're communicating within our community, if we're all on the same page, the code enforcement will be much more effective.
Mr. Mapp.
I will have a zero tolerance policy in that all of our property maintenance codes would have to be adhered to. But one of the things I want to do, I don't believe that homeowners who are paying taxes should be punished because there's debris on their properties and we stop the pickup at the end of May. So I will put money in the budget and provide you with the services that you need so that there will be a year-round pickup and you don't have to worry about what am I going to do with all of this debris that is on my property. Why stop that at the end of May when you have all summer? So I will change that.
Thank you. Question number 3. If you see Plainfield becoming a transit village, what are your plans on making that happen? Mr. Belin.
Well, Plainfield is going in that direction since an application has been filed as such. What I would do to encourage that is that, once again, we need to make Plainfield's perception of a city that is ready to do business first a priority. And we do that by making folks feel safe, making them feel that this environment in Plainfield is one where you can get the types of services, wares, and property improvement activities that are conducive to being a city that is not only for residents, but those who live downtown.
Mr. Mapp.
I believe it's extremely important that we have the relationships and the partnerships that we need in order to get that transit-oriented development designation from Trenton. The application is in, and I believe that we must work with our state elected officials to make sure that we apply the pressure in the right places, and where there's information that is not sufficient in the application, we must make sure that we provide that information. But having that designation is very important and critical to the economic development needs of the city.
Mr. Muhammad. You can.
Yes, I believe again that pretty much Plainfield is in a position where all these things are bound to happen anyway. Because Plainfield's on the upward bound. Plainfield's new beginning. I mean, we're at the threshold of that. But one thing that we really definitely have to do, and I have to keep stressing this point. And for an example, we have a gentleman that's sitting in the audience. He holds 4 particular hats that are very, very important. Chairperson for the Democratic Party, chairperson for the county, assemblyman, and he also sits over housing and safety insurance. And that means so very much. But unfortunately, this is a very strained relationship because of our past and judgment and past relationships. That needs to be fixed.
Mrs. Spector.
I think we really do need to be able to get the transit village designation. But in that light, we also need to have our house in order. Years ago there was a master plan. I don't know whatever happened to it, and right now it's probably so out of date it needs to be redone. But a transit village brings with it its own needs, and we need to make sure that if we get that designation, we are ready for it.
Thank you. Next question. How are you going to make Plainfield safer for children? And Ms. Spector, you go first.
Safety is definitely an issue in Plainfield. It's been an issue ever since I moved here, which is over 20 years ago. I believe that it's a matter of safe and smart policing. I believe that it's a matter of putting more policemen on the beat, actually walking the beat, driving around. I believe that the system that we have right now is not giving our policemen what they need to do their jobs correctly. Every day they put their lives on the line. We need to do better for them than we are doing now.
Mr. Mohammed.
I think public safety is of extreme importance, and particularly when it deals with our youth. I think we have more than enough policemen. I think our style of policing is totally in the wrong direction. We need community policing. We had community police in the past. Steve Jordan is one. Our beloved brother Roger Howe was another. You know, when I grew up in the city of Plainfield, we had plenty of community police. But we need a culture that deals with education, that's going to facilitate programs, that's going to address our young people, that's going to give them alternatives that will serve to make our community safer, because they will make different choices.
Mr. Mapp.
Well, safety will begin at home for our young people. But in terms of what the government can do, we must create more recreational opportunities and create environments where we can put our kids where they can be safe. And it is not all about policing, but it's about parenting as well. And it's about creating vehicles and opportunities. It's about providing job training opportunities and putting our young people in situations where they will be safe, keeping them off the street. And so I think that we must invest in providing the recreational job training opportunities that our young people can have access to, keeping them out of harm's way.
Mr. Belin.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. How are you going to make Plainfield safer for the children?
Well, the mayor really can't make just Plainfield safer for children alone. It's making Plainfield safe for all its citizens. It takes a village for a child to be safe, and that starts in the home. I agree with Mr. Mapp there. It also takes people in the neighborhood, it takes the community leaders, it takes the churches, and it takes the police force to do their job. I know growing up in the city of Plainfield, if I was around the corner and I did something wrong, my parents knew before I got home. We need to start back to that type of neighborhood, community, and partnership where everyone is involved.
Next question. A recent blog post highlighted Plainfield, Illinois as a town that has achieved historic status in the National Register. Would you consider a similar approach for Plainfield, New Jersey's development plans? And Mr. Mohammed, you go first.
Yes, we would consider that, but uniquely our own status and our own reflection and our own style. Again, Plainfield is bound to grow and bound to come up. Right now, we are at an investment quality in the city of Plainfield. You know, our revenues exceed our expenditures. You know, so people are waiting and they're set up and they're prepared to invest in the city of Plainfield. As a matter of fact, plans have already been drawn up, reaching into the next decade and a half. They're already lined up. It's our own relationships and our own inability to be able to work with our elected officials and work with each other that prevents these things from happening. But we intend to turn that around, and Plainfield will have a much brighter future, and Plainfield will have a new beginning.
Mr. Belin.
Yes, I'm familiar with the Plainfield, Illinois story, and it works for that particular town. Of course, I would consider all things that would be along the lines of building a better Plainfield, but I don't believe that that would work here in Plainfield. What we need to do in Plainfield is look at the strengths that we have. We do need a cohesive theme along the lines of the city and our central business district. However, we need to leverage our diversity, celebrate our differences, and create an environment where businesses are coming to Plainfield to do business. That was a real quick 30 seconds, I think. I don't know if you're waving at me or what, but that was a little quick. She was very quick. But we'll take that. I'll take that. That was my answer. We'll take it. It's okay. It's all right.
Ms. Spector.
Are we ready? Okay. I read the blog. I'm not all that familiar with that study, except that I would agree with Mr. Belin and Mr. Mohammed that we are a very unique circumstance. We're not in Illinois. This is New Jersey. This is a city that is just absolutely rich with an immense amount of diversity. I think that if we use our diversity, I think that if we approach each other in a nonpartisan, let's get it done, let's get along manner, that you know what? Plainfield, Illinois will be reading about us.
Mr. Mapp.
One of Plainfield's greatest assets is its historic architecture. When we look at the homes that we have in the city, we have 9 historic districts in the city of Plainfield. We have house tours every year promoting that asset that we have. And in terms of how we market and promote the city, that is one of the things that we must do. We must continue to just wave the flag about what we have in terms of our assets here. And our housing stock is second to none. And so those 9 historic districts that we have in the city of Plainfield, as your next mayor, I will make sure that I use that as a part of the marketing plan for this city, so that people will come in to be a part of the many house tours that we have here every year and see what Plainfield has to offer in terms of its cultural diversity, in terms of its infrastructure, all the things that are good about Plainfield.
Next question. The city of Plainfield has made a $19.2 million payment to the PMUA without any legal basis. The PMUA commissioners have made off with over $600,000 in illegal compensation. If elected mayor, what will you do to put a stop to these abuses? Ms. Spector.
The PMUA, even though it is an authority and therefore is exempt from a lot of the rules and regulations that we would like to place on it, still can be reined in, and that's what we need to do. The PMUA was set up to help Plainfield, but to also make a lot of money for the people involved in the PMUA. I think it's helped Plainfield somewhat, and I think it's made an awful lot of money for the people involved in the PMUA. We need to be vigilant. We need to sit down with the PMUA. We need to see how we can rein this in. We need to absolutely keep costs under wraps. I will tell you that I do believe that the city is cleaner now than before the PMUA. But that doesn't mean we just give them the keys and let them do whatever they want to do.
Mr. Muhammad.
Well, the PMUA quite controversial in the city of Plainfield, especially on the backs of the residents, with 2 bills coming to them, and the taxes and a separate bill for the services. And the other thing is that pretty much with the PMUA, from the position that I sit in right now, we would have to be in a position to be able to order, examine, and put into motion, assessments of the things that have been taking place. And management, obviously, has been the problem. Things that have been taking place that the public really don't know nothing about. So we need transparency. The city needs transparency. I was taught that truth is the best policy. Truth and justice will overcome and straighten out anything. So everything needs to be put on the table, and I'm sure those problems with the PMUA will straighten itself out.
Mr. Mapp.
I believe that the commissioners at the PMUA who are still getting health benefits, I believe that should end, because it's another form of compensation which is not permissible under the creation ordinance and the ethical standards of even the PMUA itself. And so that must come to an end. That is unjust compensation. But I should tell you that currently there's a forensic audit that is taking place at the PMUA. It has been happening since April, and I believe to the extent that any waste, fraud, and abuse can be uncovered, I think it would be a good thing for the ratepayers, and I think it would be one way to drive down rates and to impact positively on the cost that our ratepayers are currently experiencing. And so I will do all that I can to appoint the kinds of commissioners that will make a difference, that will be watchdogs for the people of the city of Plainfield and make a difference.
Mr. Belin.
I have to agree with Mr. Mapp that first and foremost, though, I would sit down with the director of the PMUA and ask for a thorough understanding of how they are operating and how they're charging the citizens of Plainfield. And secondly, I would appoint commissioners that would have Plainfield's best interests at heart.
Next question. What do you realistically see happening to Muhlenberg? Mr. Belin.
Realistically, I think that Muhlenberg Hospital, until a decision is made as to what the city wishes to do with that plot of land, either through a rezoning of the city council or through a decision by the zoning board, is going to be in limbo. It's a business decision. Somebody's trying to make money off the property. Okay, Muhlenberg Hospital, the facility as far as the medical center by this JFK group has pulled out funding and they're using it for a different facility. They're not doing it for Plainfield. I think though, as the city of Plainfield, we have to leverage the fact that they do owe us money in the form of taxes if that is not a hospital, and we need to use that as a bargaining chip in order to bring them to the table to do a deal that is for the best for Plainfield, and that does not include 600 apartments.
Mr. Mapp.
I have to agree with what Mr. Belin said in terms of the hammer that we have. We have a tax hammer that we can use at any time. The property is no longer being used for a tax-exempt purpose, and so the city is owed tax dollars. And so we must use that to our advantage to cause Muhlenberg, to cause JFK, I should say, to stop sitting on the property. And I will work very hard, tirelessly every day to identify the kinds of developers that would come in to keep that facility as a medical facility. And ideally, I want to see a unit like the Summit Medical Group providing medical services from that facility. But as it stands right now, there is no desire on the part of the present owners that have that facility provide medical services to this community. I'm against that policy that has been adopted by JFK. I would work to make sure that we get the best use for that facility on that Muhlenberg campus.
Ms. Spector.
I think pretty much that the four of us sitting up here are in agreement as far as Muhlenberg is concerned. Yes, we absolutely here in Plainfield do need and do deserve high-quality medical care that's been taken away from us. Not only has it been taken away from us, but Solaris has basically raped that building. They took out everything from operating equipment to the lockers. I don't think that Muhlenberg will ever be the facility that it once was. But we do and we can have high-quality medical care here. And what we don't need is over 600 units of high-density housing on that 17-acre piece of property. It cannot happen, and I will work every day by administration to make sure that it does not.
Mr. Muhammad.
Again, yeah, I think we all agree on that. Plainfield definitely does not need 600 units on its site. But it's not so much what I would do. I think that, again, that, you know, our unity is the most powerful thing that we have. You know, and we need transparency. And it continues pretty much with things such as the JFK project, Solaris, Muhlenberg, all these things that have taken place when we're privileged to, you know, information. And that information doesn't get no further than a select few. Then we become powerless in dealing with these entities that hold our whole community in our city hostage like this. And we definitely need a hospital. I don't think there's nothing that can stop us as a united community to have a full-fledged medical care center. If we are a united community, a united city, despite our differences, we can sure have a hospital.
Thank you. Okay. Next question. People who have been in jail have a very difficult time getting hired, and they need to work as well. What are you going to do to change the perspective of employers so that these people can get work? Mr. Mohammed.
Well, I think one of the things that we can do, I think that local city government needs to invest in their own. And when we have our own that comes from, or they're coming from jail terms, you know, to stop recidivism, we need to invest in them. And we need to invest in them by changing the local policies. The local policies that will employ them, and I mean with a living where they can take care of their families, where they could get these kind of jobs. Unfortunately, right now, a lot of the construction that goes on in the city of Plainfield, I worked in construction for many years, and a lot of these jobs start at $18 an hour. They quickly get to $20-something an hour. That's pouring concrete, putting up bricks, building scaffolds. These men can do this. This is not rocket science. You know, I'm sure that they will come off the corners, and recidivism would not be at such a high level if we invested in them. They would appreciate that. They would not be back on the corner next week selling drugs or committing crimes. But we need to turn our attention to them. We need to legislate our local policies towards them, and we need to make it happen, starting with local city government first.
Ms. Spector.
We absolutely do need to look at this section of the labor force. They are definitely very valuable in our community. Our city can and should be doing job training. We also should be doing more hiring, more looking to do these projects from within. So I think that if we build a strong core in our city and then concentrate on job training, that some of these citizens not only will find jobs, but will prosper.
Mr. Belin.
That's a very interesting question. I'm not sure that it's really something that the mayor can influence other than making sure that job opportunities are treated, or everyone who's looking for a job is treated fairly. I don't think that the mayor should be concerned with trying to make special allowances for someone because of their past, other than their experience and their qualifications for a job. However, we should create environments where our young people should not be going to jail in the first place. Why are we asking a question about someone having a jail experience here in the city of Plainfield? Okay, that is not my experience, having a jail background, and I'm not holding it against anyone else who does. However, I don't think that the mayor of Plainfield should be put in a position where we're worried so much about you have to make a special allowance because someone has made a bad decision in the past. Let's focus on creating an environment where the city of Plainfield can be the best city it can be, and that means its employees also.
Mr. Mapp.
I don't believe that it's about making special allowances. But I do believe that every person is entitled to a second chance. And it's about removing the barriers that stand in the way of people who have made mistakes in their lives and who need to be given that second chance. And one of the things that we did earlier this year on the governing body is that we passed legislation. Many of you are familiar with checking that box on applications that asks you if you have ever been in jail, have you ever committed a crime. And those are the things that stand in the way of too many of our young people. And so we have to make it easier for them to get their feet in the door in front of prospective employers who, if they have the opportunity to see what some of our young people who have made mistakes have to offer, if they can get their feet in the door and get through the interview process, they'll be able to find jobs. That's a responsibility we have.
Thank you. Okay, please hold, yes, Member Belin.
I'm not saying it's a situation of special allowances. What I'm saying is if we are creating an environment where our young people are being the best that they can be from the very start, we don't have to make it easier for them. We are trying to build a world-class city here with world-class students children, and citizens, okay? And I'm tired of us, and I will defend Plainfield, of having these little subtle instances of making a perception that our city is less than what it is. A very good place to live with good people, and that doesn't necessarily mean that every question has to do with jails.
Thank you. Next question. It's a two-part question. What will you do to stop outsourcing jobs from the city of Plainfield? And will you make it mandatory that local qualified contractors get the contract first? And Mr. Mappin, you get to answer this first. Mr. Mapp.
Well, quite frankly, I'm not familiar with the jobs that are being outsourced from Plainfield. I can tell you that we have in Plainfield certain positions that require certification. And so one of those positions is the Chief Financial Officer position, which is currently now being filled by someone who is the business administrator and the CFO in South Plainfield. So what I will do, I will work very hard to have someone in that position on day one. We also have a health inspector, which the position is currently not filled, and we're using the services of Union County. I will make sure that I look for someone who will be able to do that position on a full-time basis. In terms of jobs being outsourced, I'm not familiar with the jobs that are being outsourced. There are contracts that are awarded, and we have to abide by the local public contracts law.
Mr. Muhammad.
Yes, absolutely, if I can remember the question. I believe that we would do everything in our power. There are these things that are happening. There is a great appearance that those things are happening. From City Hall with key administrative spots, all the way down to construction sites that are happening throughout the city of Plainfield. As a resident of the city of Plainfield, I know when I ride around the city of Plainfield, whether it's contractual law or not, I don't see local contractors doing these works. I don't see local contractors getting these jobs. I don't see people I know working on these sites. That means a whole lot. But I'm sure that there needs to be some investigation. I'm sure that we need to tighten our belt. I'm sure that we need to put together policies, local policies that would be in ratio to the population, where the citizens in the city of Plainfield will get a certain percentage of the contracts that will service us as a community and that will keep economic stimulation here and keep our families thriving.
Ms. Spector.
I have said in the past, and will continue to say, that we have an enormous wealth of talent here in Plainfield. We have wisdom here in Plainfield that we haven't even begun to tap into. I also, like Mr. Muhammad, have driven around Plainfield and seen signs on the sides of trucks that aren't even in Union County. No, we can't fill every job. We cannot fill every position. We cannot fill every construction position here from the pool that we have in town. There are jobs here in town that not only within the administration, but within the construction of the city and the infrastructure of the city that need to be done in a very specialized manner. But I do believe that before we go outside, we need to look within our own borders first.
Mr. Belin.
I agree. I believe that where possible, local workforce should be used for local work. So often you do see contractors and businesses from out of town that come into Plainfield, are awarded contracts, and they do work and they don't use local employees, where it could be possible. And I think that we should do it whenever and whatever is possible to make that happen so that our local workers can find employment. And in regards to cabinet level positions, I would try to I will make sure that my administration is one that is nonpartisan. It would not matter whether or not you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent, or any other political party, but the best and the brightest, and not a recycled candidate from another town where it might possibly be perceived that you are employing someone as a political favor.
Next question. How are you going to address the foreclosure rate in Plainfield? And Mr. Belin, you get to go first.
The mayor's not a banker. Banks control mortgages. Okay? Let's stop trying to put responsibilities on the office of mayor that cannot be achieved. As far as foreclosures are concerned, we need to encourage and help and educate our homeowners who need assistance on how to protect their investment. They're usually their biggest investment, which is a home. But as far as trying to close a foreclosure rate, running behind people, that is not the job of a mayor, and I really don't think that we should be wasting time on such questions.
Mr. Mapp.
Well, what I can say is that it is truly not the role of the local administration, whether we're talking about the office of the mayor or the office of a member of the governing body, to stop foreclosures. However, what we can do is provide an office at City Hall that will help with resources to direct people to where they need to go to get the help and the assistance that they need to get out of the very difficult situations that so many of our homeowners find themselves in as a result of the economy, as a result of some of the schemes that were employed by those in the financial industry that have caused people to be in desperate straits. So we need to address that. But one of the things that I've already been exploring is a lot of these homes that are vacant and abandoned and are owned by banks. I want to see how we could assess a fee against these financial institutions that have caused the property values in our town to go down, and as a result, helping to tarnish the image of the city of Plainfield. I'll be exploring that on day one.
Mr. Muhammad.
Yes, I think that very much that City Hall, the mayor's office, it should play a great role in what takes place in the city, including foreclosures. And I'm speaking in terms of information. And we need to assist each other as a community. We need to have centers where we can help and assist. We need to be able to negotiate. We need to be able to have and make information accessible to our residents in the city of Plainfield for this reason, because if we don't, then we continue down the path where we have these large realtors coming in here, buying up all the property from which our residents have been squeezed out of for one reason or another, or because they've been put between a rock and a hard place. They're either on fixed income, or they're elderly people, or they are low-wage people, and they have no access and no information to programs that only a few people have access and information on. So they need assistance, they need information, and with that we would help them.
Ms. Spector.
I agree with Mr. Belin that there's truly nothing that, as a mayor, you can actually do to help stave foreclosure. However, I do feel that information is power, and there's where we can absolutely help. Faith-based institutions, the state, the county, these can all be brought to bear to help people who are losing their homes, to tell them what programs are available, to tell them what resources may or may not be available to them, to tell them what they need to do, who they need to see, perhaps the paperwork that they need to start filling out. This can be done through the auspices of City Hall. This can be done through an information agency. I think Plainfield can do something to help. It has to be a community effort.
And the last question of the evening is, all the candidates say they want to unify the city and create harmony, and how will you do that? And will you also adopt good ideas from your opponents? And Mrs. Spector, you get to go first.
Absolutely, I would adopt good ideas from my opponents. This is my third forum with these gentlemen, and I have to tell you something. I have been wonderfully, wonderfully impressed by some of their ideas. I think they're fabulous. And yes, if I'm elected, I will put some of their good ideas to work. And yes, I will devote my efforts to bipartisan governing. By working together. We're not Republicans, we're not Democrats, we're not independents. We are residents of Plainfield. We need to work together as residents of Plainfield. We need to talk after this forum. We need to talk after November 5th. We need to get all of our ideas, good, bad, and indifferent, on the table, because that's how we're going to move this city forward.
Mr. Mapp.
Someone once said that man needs man to survive as man, and I believe that we all need each other. There are things that make us different in many ways, but yet we are one. And every ward in this city must be respected and must be looked upon as an integral part of this city. And it doesn't matter whether you're from the first ward or the fourth, the second or the third. We all live here in this community of Plainfield, and we have to come together in order for this city to be all that it can be. And so we have no choice but to reach out across party lines, reach out across culture and class, and all the different groups that we have here in the city, so that we could recognize what we have in common. And by using those things that we have in common as opposed to the differences, by coming together, Plainfield will be a better place. It will be all that it can be. And so I will be working to make that happen.
Mr. Belin.
Absolutely. As I participate in this forum and the others, and I've looked at this campaign, the reason I entered was to provide a choice. And the more and more I hear my fellow candidates, I see that they have already been adopting a lot of my ideas and my phrasing when they're answering their questions. And that's a good thing, because the intention of this campaign, at least my candidacy, was to bring together all in Plainfield, not based upon politics, but based upon making a better city. So as I sit here and I listen to answers that sound so very intimately close to my own, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that we're all thinking and hoping for a better Plainfield. And as I mentioned before, you now see the next mayor and possibly the CFO once he sends his resume.
Mr. Muhammad.
Yes, absolutely. If I may restate, our platform is not about me, my, and I. It's about we, us, and our. It's about strengthening our family, improving public policy, political empowerment, justice issues, quality of life, economical transformation, and international affairs. And with that, I even say to my Latino brothers and sisters, cuando yo hablo español contigo, escúchame porque yo no hablo muy bien. But uno familia. We are one family. But there's many of us in the city of Plainfield who has not been included. And there's many of us who've been carrying a whole load by ourselves. But we will have an open door policy and complete transparency. We know that truth is the best policy. And we were also taught that the greatest amongst you shall be your servant. And that's what our campaign is about, serving the city of Plainfield in its entirety.
And now, please hold your applause. We're not finished yet. We have the last part of the program, which are the closing statements. Again, the candidates drew for the order. And Mr. Muhammad, you will have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
So back to back. When you go to the polls on the 5th of November, we would hope and pray that you would consider very, very strongly to consider us and to go to column C for Plainfield's New Beginning. Our platform is a very inclusive platform. We love the city of Plainfield so very dearly and so very much. We understand people's qualities and their gifts and their skills and their talents, but we know very, very, very much that, unfortunately, You know, we got into a position where we just can't work together. We're arguing and we're fussing and we're fighting with one another. Personalities have gotten in the way. But this is not rocket science. This is not a hard thing to fix. But unfortunately, our relationships don't went south. So we need something new, something fresh. And we need to start from the bottom up. And most politicians, and I am not a politician, I'm an activist, I'm a minister, I'm a professional diabetics auditor. I worked in construction many years. I never went to a construction site where we started from the middle up. We always started from the bottom. You can never build nothing from the middle up. You have to start at the bottom. As a matter of fact, you have to go beneath the surface to poor peers so you can build a strong foundation. When you can build a strong foundation, the job site grows. Eventually, everybody is involved. And then we will erect something that will last for eternity. And this is the same thing with people in our community. And it's not so much about building buildings. It's about building people. We have to build people. We have to give them equal opportunity. We have to allow everybody to take a part or be a part of this great and vibrant community. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Mr. Belin.
November 5th, I'm asking each and every one of you, when you go into that voting booth, to do what you all know that we must do. And that is, look at the line of the ballot which is going to make your vote count the most. The vote which is going to change your life the most is that of the mayor's race. Don't look to go party line where you're being asked to blindly just choose and do not think about issues. Think about the position of mayor, because that person is going to be the one who's going to lead Plainfield in the next 4 years in a very crucial time in our life cycle as a city. I'm asking all of you who may consider yourselves Democrats, Republicans, Independents, to get behind my candidacy and vote for a true change in the city of Plainfield. I am the only candidate here that is willing and able to fight for Plainfield against a party and a machine that has taken us for granted for so long. You know, when you walk around the city, that you're not satisfied with what you see. And if you know that to be true in your heart, I'm asking each and every one of you to pick a quality of life improvement, a candidacy that is going to put Plainfield first, and I'm asking you to vote for D. Scott Belin on November 5th and do the right thing for Plainfield.
Mr. Mapp.
The challenges that we face are many. They are enormous. We don't have the time, the luxury, to have people who will require training wheels in order to provide the kind of leadership that the city needs. Experience is the best teacher. And I have been there. I have been in public service for many years. I have the background and the qualifications. I am able to reach out across all of the municipalities in Union County. I am able to speak to people at the county level, at the state level, to identify and to look to bring the resources into the city that we need. It's about partnerships, and it's about building bridges that will get us to where we need to go and where we must take this city. You've heard a lot of quoted language from some of the candidates up here who said, I have grown up here all my life, I've been to the school system. But let me say this to you. The place of one's birth does not determine the destination of one's dreams. And it certainly does not make anyone more qualified than the other. What is important is the experience that we have, life experiences, the knowledge that we have, the needs of the city that are so great, and the ability that you have to address those issues. It's about finding the right people and putting those people in the positions that we know are so necessary and critical to this city's future. And so I say to you that I am the person that is most qualified, that has the experience, that has the passion, and can pull people together to get the job done. Column A, all the way. Adrian Mapp for mayor.
Ms. Spector.
Had to put my training wheels up in order to do this. I don't think any of us here need to talk about training wheels. But what I do want to tell you is that your vote, your one vote on November 5th can actually, absolutely make a difference for this city. Your one vote can make and bring change, much, much needed change to this city. Your one vote can bring a bipartisan view that this city needs desperately. Vote Sandy Spector for mayor. Elect Sandy Spector for mayor. And you will see immediately the beginning of how hard my administration is going to work with the city council to bring about a renewed and improved quality of life for every resident in Plainfield. I promise. And you know how we're going to do it? We're all going to put Plainfield before politics. Thank you.
And I think we need to give a round of applause to all the candidates.